Working with keyframes is one of the more advanced features in Adobe Premiere Pro, and one that can really help your video come to life, especially with things like special effects and simple animations. In this video, I'm going to show you some of the more basic ways that keyframes can help you add value to your video. The first example, I'm going to create what some people like to call the Ken Burns effect, which is a panning or zooming effect on still images to make still images come alive. And for this, we're going to use keyframes. So to start our work on that, what I want to do is select the asset that I want to work on and then place the playhead on top of that so I can see in the program monitor what is actually happening. Then I come over to my source monitor and make sure that I have selected the effects control portion of that. What we're going to do, we're going to zoom in on this photo very slowly as it rolls across the screen. So I move the playhead up in the effect control source area to the beginning of the clip, and I want to set a keyframe on scale over here. So I click on scale, and it's going to start at 50% scale. And then I drag this to the end of the clip, and I'm going to set a new keyframe. Click on this little diamond icon here to set a new keyframe. As you can see, the new keyframe appears right there. There's the first keyframe I set. And for this second keyframe, I wanted to zoom to 70. So it's going to zoom in just a bit. Let's go ahead and put this back and play it, and I'll show you now how the zoom effect works. So it comes to the end and then it stops. When I'm working on keyframes, I can do several keyframes on the same asset or clip. So let's say that I want to add a slight sideways motion as well. Then I want to add a position keyframe. So I place the playhead at the beginning of the clip that I want to work on. And I click on position, which has now been set to the default value here. And then I move this over like so. And I want to set the new keyframe on position. So I click on that. And now I can change the values here. Just slide it. Maybe so. And then up just a little bit. Well, let's see how that looks like. So as you can see, the motion is now zooming in while moving up slightly. So this adds a nice, what we call the Ken Burns effect, zoom and pan effect on this image. So you can add keyframes to any of the functions or filters that are available to you on the effect controls. If I wanted to use a fade in effect, I could go down to my effects, video effects, transitions, and use a dip to black or dip from black. But in this case, I'm going to use the opacity on the photograph to achieve the same thing. So I place my playhead at the very beginning, and I click on the opacity function right there to set a keyframe. I want the opacity at the very beginning to be 0. Enter 0. And it turns black, as you can see over here. So then I want it to fade in pretty quickly. So I moved the image to where I wanted to have 100% opacity, and I add a new keyframe, and I set that to 100. And let's take a look. So now you can see that it's fading in from black, and it starts its pan and zoom. I can move keyframes around on the clip. If I want to extend the fade in, I can just click on that keyframe right there and move it. So now we're going to have a much slower transition. And now it's fully 100% opacity. The next thing I'm going to show you is how we can animate text using keyframes. So I'm going to add a lower third to this clip right here. So I'm going to just type in my name. Like so. Very simple lower third. Let's go over to the graphics panel and do a little work on that. I want there to be a background on it so that I can see it a little better. Let's set that background to black and set the opacity to 0. Okay. So now I have added my lower third. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to animate it so that it comes in from the right side of the screen, and then it pauses for a bit, and then it disappears out to the left. So I have selected my asset right here. So I know that I'm working on the right thing. I want to work with the positioning, as I said. So I select the keyframe to start the motion, and I just simply drag from the x-axis over to the right until it's all the way out of the picture, like so. And then I move forward, let's say to that point. I'm going to set a new keyframe, and I grab the x axis again, and I drag this into where I want it to sit on the screen, like so. And then I scrub forward to where I want it to start moving again, and I set a new keyframe at that point. And then I move to the end of the clip where I want it to be completely out of the screen. Set my fourth keyframe, and the position on that keyframe will be all the way out there. So now let's go ahead and take a look at how this appears. Hello, so I'm here at the Botanical Gardens today, and I'm recording. So that's how you can create a simple lower third that's animated. You can use keyframes for all sorts of things. For instance, in this case, I could make an image appear out of another image. Let's use these two assets right here. So let me move this up, and then let's zoom in here so I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm going to remove the cross dissolve because I don't want to use that. I want the image that's underneath to be replaced by the image on top, and I want this flower to kind of come out from the center of the screen. So here's how I'm going to accomplish that. So select my asset by clicking on it. I come up here, place the cursor at the very beginning, and I'm going to work with scale. So I set a keyframe for scale, and I set the scale to 0. Now it's disappeared. I move forward to the end of the clip. I create another keyframe, and I set the scale to, let's say, 40. And let's go ahead and play that and show you how that effect looks like. That I can use to illustrate my A-roll. And I will record both video and still images. So as you can see, there's just a number of opportunities here to play with. You can play with rotation, opacity, and for each of the effects or functions that you add, there will be new effect controls added for you to work with. For instance, I could go ahead and hide this, and let's say that I want to use a blur effect on this. So search for blur. I want to use Gaussian blur. So I'm going to add Gaussian blur to the photograph. And now Gaussian blur has been added as an effect over here. If I want to bring this, make this picture blurry toward the end, I can set a keyframe on the Gaussian blur, on blurriness right here. Set a keyframe. So I have 0 blurriness, and I create another effect here where it blurs more. So new keyframe. I'm going to set the blurriness to 30. So now let's turn this layer back on. So now the underlying photo is going to be blurred while the photo on top will be appearing on top of it. B-roll that I can use to illustrate my A-roll. And I will record both video and that's how you use keyframes to achieve simple animations within Premiere Pro. If you want to experiment with more advanced visual effects and animations, I encourage you to take a look at Adobe After Effects. It is a much more advanced program for that particular purpose, but for most projects I find that the capability within Premiere is very advanced and does what I need it to do. So I wish you good luck working on keyframes and animations and special effects with Premiere Pro.